Well, the world has sure gone nutty, buddy, even downright buddy. Wish I missed the past, buddy, but there's still Buddycast. No, don't be naughty, go meet a buddy here on Buddy. Oops.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and host of Buddycast, Nick Sorensen.
Welcome to another episode of everybody's favorite show, Buddycast. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. Joining me today is a special buddy, my buddy Chris from BrewErie. How you doing today, Chris?
Good, Nick. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining us. Always love promoting local businesses around town, especially the brewery. I'm happy to have you on this episode.
We appreciate that.
Thank you. So, Chris, for our buddies out there, because we have buddies from Erie, Pennsylvania, and we have buddies from across the world, tell us about BrewErie. Tell us about the history.
Yeah, so we opened up the brewery station. It was honestly, Nick, like a 5 years of field work, homework, studying, and saying, hey, you know, Erie, Pennsylvania, for as big as a city we are, doesn't have a craft brew pub or brewery. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to imagine now with over 15 of us within a stone's throw of downtown. But, you know, we saw it going on in other parts of the country. You know, Cleveland had one, Pittsburgh had one, Buffalo had one. And we'd been even to places, small rural towns across the country that we went, you know, to visit to see how these places were doing it with small populations. And it, you know, they were popping up. So it was like, you know, Erie, I love Erie because we're always, besides being a great city, we're always like 5 to 10 years behind a lot of trends. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you're out there looking, there's all these kind of industries and movements and fads, trends, whatever you want to call them, that are out there that are going to get here eventually. So we knew craft beer was a thing, especially on the West Coast. And we knew it was coming. So we said, let's get out ahead of this and make craft beer. So from 2001 to 2006, we did all that homework we talked about and went out and visited other owners and brewers. And finally, the opportunity arose in spring of 2006. Union Station became available right down here, nestled in downtown Erie, Pennsylvania, at an old rail depot. So the space was cool. The city was kind of committed to downtown and redeveloping this area in particular, you know, the Union Square and Griswold Park. So there was a long-term commitment for here. It was cool space. And lo and behold, after 5 years, a lot of work, we opened our doors in September of 2006 as the brewery eating station.
Nice. And tell us more about that location of yours.
Yeah, so Union Station itself, again, was originally Erie's first real passenger depot. So there was an actual Union Depot that serviced downtown Erie from 1863 to 1927 when this replaced it, but it was very small. And rail at the turn of the century was just exploding, and that was really the main way of traveling in or out of town. You know, you had to be uber wealthy. You had to be a 1%er to have an automobile, to be able to afford to have an automobile in the early 1900s. So if you can imagine, everybody that was coming and going from a very, very busy, vibrant downtown was either walking on a horse or taking a train. So this was the hub of Northwestern Pennsylvania transportation. So it is a 100,000 square foot building. It was built as the first Art Deco Union Station in the United States. So when you come in here and you get a look at the decor, just the overall decor and architecture, very European. The symmetry is very interesting. Everything from, you know, the arches down to the actual, you know, the graphics and the fonts used in the marble of standing the place was very specific, and they continue to use that throughout Union Stations as they popped up across the country. So we were the first, but it's fun to travel, whether you go to DC or Chicago. You know, we went out to the Union Station in Portland, Oregon, and the characteristics that they share are pretty cool. Each building's a little bit different, but a lot of them have a lot of the same basic design.
Wonderful. Now let's talk menu a little bit. I gotta ask, what are your favorite items on the menu? I know that's like asking who's your favorite child, you know?
Yeah, and I have one. No, I'm just kidding. No, I wouldn't say that. Not in front of my kids anyway. But honestly, Nick, like you nail on the head. Like, we've built this menu, over the years, and almost like our beer, it's like, hey, we want to make stuff that we like, whether it's, maybe different, odd, off-centered food. But we like doing fun, different things that you can't just go anywhere and get. So I had a sister that lived in Kentucky and still does. And we used to go visit down there, and a delicacy down in Kentucky is deep fried pickles. So we said, we need to bring this back to Erie. So I think we introduced deep fried pickles to Erie over 16 years ago. You see them pop up here and there now, but, we do a little different than the Southern chips. We do a whole spear in our beer batter. With the Southwest dressing, which is off the chart. So that's like a guilty pleasure, one of those fun things. We get into a lot of, twists on favorites like pierogies. We'll saute those with bacon bits and like a horseradish sauce, which is delicious. I love those. And one of my favorites, other favorite appetizers are garlic parm, deep fried Brussels sprouts. So those are off the charts. Makes you feel good about eating Brussels sprouts and vegetables. But a cool little modern flair to it. But even like, we took a favorite when I was a kid, like an at-home comfort food was like fried bologna. So that's that I know it's a staple in this region in the part of Pennsylvania and in the Midwest. Fried bologna was an old comfort thing, almost like mac and cheese. And, we took that to the next level, did a 1/4 pound slab of Smith's bologna, of course, because it had to be Smith's. Sausage and onions, peppers, on a giant brioche bun, melted cheddar cheese all over the thing. So it's again, taking an old favorite, but putting a twist on it. That's kind of what we do. And speaking of mac and cheese, another one we took that I absolutely love, we took mac and cheese and we're like, well, what kind of protein can we put on mac and cheese? So we took one of our favorite sandwiches, a Philly cheesesteak, and we call it our Philly mac and cheese steak. So, you get that thinly shaved steak on top with onions, peppers, mushrooms, and it's just out of sight. But it's, again, one of those things back then. It's like, most restaurants you couldn't find mac and cheese over a decade ago, unless it was like on a kid's plate. Now it's for adults. It's fun. It's different. And again, just doing things outside the box that, we thought would be fun. And luckily, we're blessed. People gravitate toward it and really attach to it.
Wonderful. I will say, in a joking sense, it probably wasn't the best idea for me to do this episode right before lunch.
Yeah, right.
So,
my apologies.
No, you're good. You're good. But those sounded delicious. You're right. I love how you're keeping the Smith's flavors in, because Smith's is a staple in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You're just so props to you for that. Let's talk about beer menu. What about some of your favorite beers? I know, again, asking like your favorite child.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you, it's interesting because, tastes kind of change with seasons, and almost like food. I probably wouldn't eat that mac and cheese steak, in July. I'd probably lean more towards like a really robust salad or something like that. But beer's kind of the same. This time of year, we're shooting this in the wintertime, so we've stouts like right now we have a delicious coffee stout on that's semi-sweet, but also has a lot of coffee notes, roasted coffee notes. We have next month we have a chocolate peanut butter porter, which is one of my favorites. Which you take chocolate peanut butter and a dark roasted porter, and it works magic. It's one of those things like 10 years ago, people were like, that's kind of off the wall, and now it's become like, what craft brewers do, throw crazy things in beers and do fun stuff. So, this time of year, that's the stuff I would gravitate to. But come summertime, I love like a light German wheat or a Belgian wit, something that's a little more refreshing, easy on the palate. Sometimes a lower alcohol that you can drink outside on a hot day and really be refreshing and not
like a pale ale kind of deal.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, and you have Uncle Jackson's pale ale.
Uncle Jackson's is our blonde ale. We made that when we opened up as the first beer we made, because we knew coming into we weren't a craft beer market, and craft beer wasn't as popular as quite right now. We knew we had to have a beer that was light, sessionable, that people, that might be drinking a Bud Labatt, Yingling might say, all right, I'll give it a try. So it's a non-offensive, not hoppy, not dark, not high gravity, just something really approachable and something that pairs really well with your meals.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are there any new beers you've been working on? Any new flavors you can let us in on?
So, we have 14 beer lines, and 7 of them are pretty much set in stone. That's what you're going to get all year long. So we have a blonde, an amber, a Hefeweizen, an IPA, a nut brown, and a milk stout that are always on. And then the other half of that lineup we are constantly rotating through. And we'll do one batch, it's on for a month, and it's gone. But we always try to do twists every year, trying to tweak or do something a little bit different. Right now we have peaches and cream. We've done different peach beers in the past, but we have one on right now that's delicious. A couple new IPAs and a red IRA out, and it would also get into that point where it's sweet beer season. We get to those Girl Scout cookies. We tie in the chocolate peanut butter porter in with Girl Scout cookies come March 1st. And then we also do a Girl Stout cookie, which is a chocolate thin mint stout, which is also great, fun. But we always kind of do twists. One of the most fun things we do, I think, with our beers every single Friday, for the viewers out there, every single Friday we take one of our staple or base beers that are on all the time, and we do something fun with it. And we never know what we're going to do. We just look at what we have available in the tank, and then we'll throw in whatever, fresh raspberries, fresh peppers. We'll throw in some peanut butter, do whatever we do, and we just do one keg of it. And we tap it Friday. When it's gone, and you can't get it again. A lot of those, we said a banana marshmallow peanut butter, almost like a sandwich. It was nuts. We thought we'd try it, and lo and behold, it went over crazy. People loved it. So maybe, we take some of those beers that people think, hey, that's nuts, but it's good. And then we're going to try to make a full tank of it down the road. So it's great experimental. It's great for just conversation and something new and fun to get people to come in. Mm-hmm. But it's also great research and development. So
nice. And that's really how you cover new flavors. You said you just give it a try and see what happens.
Everything we do here, I mean, from events to beer to food, you try it once and you special it, feature it, or do an event with it and see how it goes over. And usually people vote with their wallet and just repeat purchases. So and general feedback and discussion. So we take it all in. So we take the good, the bad, and see what people liked and do it again.
Mm-hmm. Worst case scenario, well, on to the next one.
Exactly right. What do you got to lose?
Exactly. So tell us about your mug club.
Yeah, so our mug club, we started our very first year, and basically, we wanted to create a loyalty program. Again, no one knew what a mug club was. Now every brewery has one, but back then you try to explain what we were trying to do. So we want to create a loyalty program, beyond a little punch card, and create something like, hey, our regulars are going to get something extra every time or something free every time. So our mug club runs with the calendar year, and started with 50 mug club memberships. Now we're up to over 400, and it's $50 for the year. You get a beautiful handcrafted ceramic stein, 20 ounce. It stays here for the calendar year. It has your name on it. So every time you come in, you get that mug, and instead of getting a 16-ounce beer like everybody else, we pull out your stein, you get a 20-ounce beer. So it's always 25% extra for the same price. We also then, on Tuesdays, our mug club night, you come in, we buy you your first beer. So a free beer, that's 52 free beers a year, and other times throughout the year, bonus nights. But at least 52 nights a year, get a free beer. And then Tuesday also you get 20% off your meal. So, we have people that come in there like clockwork every single Tuesday, get their free beer. They might stay for a second or have dinner, but it's just like a reward, and it's a thank you to the people that have been loyal to us. It's a huge part of our business. It doesn't matter morning, noon, or night. You can see someone in here using their mug or utilizing their discounts. And at the end of the year, we have a big party. It's actually coming up this weekend. It's always the third weekend in January, and come in for free entertainment, free meal, a free beer. It's a blowout. It's one of the most fun things we do. And again, it's just like, we had to build relationships with people, had to get them into craft beer, had to get them into a part of town that was still pretty rough, an old building that wasn't really all refurbished or renovated. So we had a lot of obstacles early on, and that was a giant part of our step forward to make all this happen.
All that for just that price?
Yeah. I mean, you come a couple times and it pays for itself really quick. So it's not a $50 doesn't make us any money, but it gets people in, and again builds that relationship and builds loyalty.
Mm-hmm. Every little bit adds up, and I must tell you, Clark, that's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
Yes, sir. You said it.
So on top of food, drinks, you also have special events. For example, bocce. What made you think of the bocce league?
Again, just stupid stuff thrown at the wall. We are I always say our number one asset is and resource is also our biggest liability is space. So in a giant train station, early on we did not need all this space, and it was one of those things like, how do we grow into it, and how do we utilize it on a weeknight when we're slow? How do we fill this space? So one of the things we like to do is do nonprofit things, do off the wall, fun stuff outside. So we had 10,000 square feet in the back of the building on the old boarding docks. It was in rough shape when we got here, looked, like something we could do. So we said to our landlord, hey, if we develop this, can we utilize it? And he said, absolutely. So we started with a little bocce court, put some gravel out, used some old railroad ties to repurpose it. And a lot of things out there in the beer garden is repurposed. If you've never been out there, a lot of recycled items, but you wanted to keep the integrity and the character of the building. So why not railroad ties and some gravel for some bocce? And it turned into, I think, 4 teams on, I think we did a Monday night. The next year was 8. Then we went to 16. Then we had to split the night up into divisions. So now we have a 6 and an 8 on Wednesday night. I believe there's 40 teams between the 2 divisions on a Monday night. So, well over 100 people show up. And then we added nights. We added Wednesday and Thursday. And it just got to a point where it became a really cool thing, whether you're 22 or 62. You see people out there. And it became a fashionable, I don't want to say hipster, but just a new thing to do outside of, shooting pool or bowling, which is great in the wintertime, but I don't want to be inside. In the summertime, it's beautiful in Erie, PA. I got a few months to take advantage, right? So
exactly.
Hey, let's do something outside. It started with bocce, and it's turned into leagues. It's turned into fundraisers. It's turned into winter tournaments outside. And this year, finally, we took the jump and added curling. So we're outside curling in the wintertime from November through March. So people in the area love stuff to do, and they love off the wall stuff to do. This is just one more thing, and it was a leap of faith, and it's amazing to see how it just spread over the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. And again, I talked to you this before the episode. I'd like to issue a public apology for anyone who's ever played the team known as Off Constantly. Just just a public apology. I may be biologically related to one of those team members, but that's another story for another time,
Yeah, no, good group. Good group.
They are. They're a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun. It's that thing that my dad really looks forward to. Like it's outside of work. He gets together with his buddies, has a drink, and gets to have fun.
Yep. No, we're blessed with a lot of great customers, patrons, players, and like I said, it's a cool, different thing to do. So if you're out there, you're interested. We could talk about it later, but we have our Winter Classic coming up in February, and then by May 1st, we're already signing up for our summer league. So
nice.
No off season here.
Nice. Now, my buddy got to this before I could, but my next question for you covers the ghost stories. You offer haunted history tours. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So another thing, buddy, like, you know, we when we got in this building, you know, we were aware, a historical landmark, and B, you know, I had heard about coming into this project. I heard about all the urban legends that surround the building. So, you know, I was a non-believer. Still, you know, have a lot of questions about stuff, but I'm like, I kind of laughed at it. But, you know, the more and more I spent time here, and I honestly, the first 7 years we were open, I was open to close, and, you know, almost never left here. I spent more time here than I did anywhere else by far. And, you know, weird things would go on, and I always kind of laughed at it. But over time, you're like, what, you know, the things you couldn't explain anymore. So, I mean, we do a 2-hour walking tour of the building. It started nearly 15 years ago. It's just literally like something fun to do. We took a quick 20-minute walk around. And as we learned more and, you know, did more homework and got the history of the building, and, you know, got really crazy articles and microfilm on people that had passed in the building or passed in the tracks behind us. Then the ghost hunters started up early on. We have over a dozen different paranormal investigators, to be politically correct, not ghost hunters. They're investigators. But we got over a dozen of them that come in from all over the region. And a lot of them keep coming back because they come and they get crazy evidence. And we've kind of built all that into our haunted history tour. And again, it's the oddities and the urban legends tied with the history of the building itself, which is incredibly rich and mysterious, in the architecture and all the things, the people that came and went, from, you know, Babe Ruth to Abe Lincoln, to all the soldiers, particularly during the Second World War, that came and left out here. There are so many great stories that I didn't even know about when we got in the building. And it's just, you know, this work that we've put into it and collecting all this and doing these tours to share. So it's amazing. We have people come to this tour every single year like clockwork. We do them, of course, during October for the Halloween season. They do sell out. So we do, I don't know, probably at least a dozen public tours throughout October, probably over a dozen for nonprofits or fundraising groups, or private companies that rent us out to do that. And then, you know, that October became so congested that we said, all right, how do we push this away to do it another time when the weather's fairly decent, when you're not, because we do walk outside and the basement's awfully chilly in the winter. So we're like, well, let's push it. Let's do halfway to Halloween. So the month of April, we kind of do a carbon copy of it. Also incredibly popular in the spring as well. So yeah, we're just blessed with a really cool old gem in Union Station, and you know, again, find a way to not only make use of the space, but to kind of share the story of it, because it has a great story, and a lot of people in the Erie, you know, need to be told that story.
Honey, you want to go on a ghost tour? She's giving me the wide eyes right now.
You let me know.
Sounds good. Sounds good. What of all the ghost stories, of all the urban legends you've heard from the one, which one stands out to you the most, that you personally have the most evidence of like you like went from, like you said, yeah, that's just a bit too, I'm really believing that right now.
Yeah, I get asked that one quite a bit, and it's hard to pinpoint. Just I did have a couple in particular, and I won't get too long-winded and give it away, because we want people to come and find out for themselves. But there were two instances. One was basically we had spent the month of October, and we had done the tours, and we had done paranormal investigators, and our friends at one of the radio stations reached out and said, hey, can we do a live broadcast from your place on Halloween morning? So I said, absolutely. So I made arrangements with them and one of the ghost hunters that we've used to come and meet here. So it was myself and Carrie, and doing this over online on a podcast doesn't really do it justice, but yet to see the setup and what actually went down. But ultimately, you know, we walked into a closed building at 5 a.m. on Halloween, and Carrie and I walk in, and as we swing the door open into the restaurant, the phone starts to ring. And she looked at me, she goes, Chris, who'd be calling you at 5 a.m.? I go, Carrie, that's not a phone call. That's a page. It's a very stark contrast sound to what a the phone dial sounds like. So I was getting beeped, and we walk over and look at the phone there by the hostess station, and sure as heck, it wasn't the phone ringing. It was a page, like I told her, and the page was coming from my office upstairs. Well, nobody was here, of course, and nobody has a key to my office. Yet here we are getting paged on this readout from my office, and it was bizarre. So she was giddy about it. She's like, "Pick it up, pick it up." I'm like, "You pick it up." I had no interest in knowing what was going on because the timing and is all a lot of things that in my mind were absolutely impossible. That nobody had access to, or even knew we would have been here. But as we're walking in, this is all going on. So I went over. And here's my prop right here. I go. She finally, like, come on. And I'm like, all right, we'll both pick it up. So I pick up the phone and I stick it up to my ear, and it was the most god awful, like squealing. It was like a lot of white staticky noise, but like a squealing in it. It was a foul sound that I did not appreciate or ever want to hear again. And I hung up the phone. I'm like, "Oh, Carrie, I'm good now." She's like, "Let's go to your office, Chris." I go, "No, I'm good. I'm good where I'm sitting right now." I'm like, "Nope."
Exit stage left.
Yeah, right. I'm like, "Dude, I am good, Carrie." And we left it at that. So, at the end of the day, it was really nothing. But for all it to happen, I get people all the time like, "Was it a fax or a modem or something like that?" I go, "No, unless it was a fax from Satan himself." I know what a fax sounds like, and plus it wasn't coming on a phone line. It was a phone to phone page. So there's just weird stuff like that happens sometimes. I saw something fly, something substantial and heavy fly right in front of my wife one night on a ghost tour in the basement. Just odd stuff. I wish I could explain it because I'm like a pretty practical and scientific guy, and it's hard, when so many things happen over time. It's like hard to keep being a non-believer. So I've done a complete non-believer, over 15 years, 16 years, to be like, all right, something goes on. I don't know what it is. Called a spirit, energy, call it ghost. I don't care, but it's a weird building and weird things go on here. That's for sure.
Nice. You buddies want to learn more, please go on that ghost tour.
Yeah, for sure.
Go on the ghost tour and join my buddies from Erie Unknown.
Yeah, please. It's cool stuff, man. It's cool.
Yep. Now, getting back to a lighter subject while we're still shaking here, what about some upcoming events that you have going on? What are some?
Yeah, so we are again blessed with busy. We've got obviously we've always got like public, private, and fundraising events going on. So that stuff you can check out on our social media handles. They come up throughout the week and whatever. I'd say our next 3 big things coming up, getting into the end of the month here. Erie Restaurant Week. That's not just us, but that's everywhere. I'd encourage people to go out there listening that are in the greater Erie area to get out. Visit Erie and visiterie.com have basically, put all these restaurants together, some great packages and deals. But it's Erie Restaurant Weeks, plural. It runs basically a weekend to a weekend. So it's, I think, 10 days, but it starts on the 20th of January. I believe it runs through like the 29th or something like that. But it's just cool to feature the restaurants. There'll be a lot of media out there on it. A lot of great deals, packages, and features. So I get out there. It's a great time of year, January, when a lot of us are already getting spring fever. By February 1st, I have spring fever pretty bad. So just cool stuff. It's a great way to support local restaurants and our local businesses. And then, as aforementioned, we have our Winter Bocce Classic coming up. That's Saturday, February 11th. That's a really fun day. That's tournament style. It's generally 24 teams of 4. So if you're out there, you're interested, we have people playing for the first time. We have people that have been playing forever, all ages. But that's, I believe, $25 a person. That includes lunch and play for the entire day. There's cash bar available. But just a really cool way to blow a Saturday. I believe it's a noon start. And, you could be out of here by 4. If you keep playing, you might be here till 6. But a lot of fun. People bundle up. By the way, our trackside, we have overhead heating. So if you want to sit under the heaters, you can do that too and not freeze. But that's a ton of fun in February. And then one of our biggest fundraisers we do is partnering with WQLN for the Erie Craft Beer Fest. That's been on a 3-year hiatus. There's this pandemic, of course, kind of wiped that out. So we're back in person, and that's Saturday, April 15th. There's generally 2 sessions, 2 3-hour sessions. It's really the only day of the year we close for a private event. So they have our space, they have our 10,000 square feet, another 10,000 next to us in the concourse Union Station, but we shut it down for Big Bird for the day to raise money for our local PBS affiliate, WQLN. So you can go to WQLN.org or BrewErie.com, either one, check it out. And I believe tickets start at $40, but all the proceeds of that go right to WQLN and public broadcasting.
Mm-hmm. And BrewErie.com is where our buddies can learn more about your business, can learn more about what's going on.
Yeah, whether it's about the beer, the food, events, a little bit of history, some great photos of the place. So yeah, BrewErie.com, we try to drop it all right there for you.
Love it. Now, buddies, I got two more questions for you. The first one is brought to us by our buddy Jonas Kane at #Positivity. He wants to know, in your own words, what does it mean to be someone's buddy?
Oh man, I think it starts with being there for them and being accessible. And I always say, like, if you're a buddy, morning, noon, night, good times, bad times, you got to be there for folks. So I call my son. It's funny because my dad called me buddy, and when you invited me, I'm like, oh man, that's funny because both my parents call me that, and we call our son that, and it's just about it's like for me it's like it's endearing, and there's a lot tied to it. But for anything, I always say friends, buddies, whatever it is, it's just being available, and it doesn't matter when or the circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Please know, number one, you're not a guest on this show. You're a buddy.
Right.
And number two, we have a lot in common because that's where I got the name Buddycast from, was from my grandfather. Anytime we called each other on the phone, hey buddy, how's it going? Anytime, like if I met him at the brewery or something and he was with a table and I walked in, hey guys, well, give me 1 second. Hey buddy, come over here. Guys, I want you to meet my buddy.
Yeah.
So
no, I love it.
Mm-hmm. The final question I have for you, I'm going to split into 2 parts. Mm-hmm. It's what we call the ultimate Buddycast buddy question. You ready for this one?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. What's your advice for anyone who wants to open and operate their own business one day? And the second part, what's your advice for anyone who wants to come and visit Erie one day?
Oh, great. That's great. So, boy, running a business, it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I always say, if I sit with someone that's interested in getting in, whether it's a student or a peer, or someone, we've helped foster a lot of breweries and restaurants throughout the years too. It's been a big part of what we did. And I always say, when I sit with someone, I can talk you into it or I can talk you out of it. And I think it depends, like, what kind of sacrifice you're willing to make for your success. Mm-hmm. And the first and foremost, it's your time. There's a lot of sacrifices you have to do and make, financial and commitment. There's a lot, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of time. So, if you're not in love with what you're getting into, and you don't want to, whether it's a weekend, a holiday, a night, whether you're feeling sick or lousy, or there's somewhere you rather be, like a party. I can't tell you the amount of birthday parties I missed for almost a decade trying to get established. It's tough. I mean, it's tough, but you got to be willing to make the sacrifices to get established and to get the right amount of work done. So that was it early on. It was the what you're willing to sacrifice and having the time to do it. And then I think to grow your business and to be happy and feel successful is taking that time and those sacrifices and balancing it. So for me, that, for almost a decade, sometimes it felt like you're killing yourself and living at work, but as you grow and try to develop and get better at what you do and enjoy life more, for me, it's gone from how much can I sacrifice to how much can I balance all this. So there comes a time, and I think a lot of people get discouraged and hang it up too quick. I think I've seen a lot of businesses, in a year, 2 years, 3 years fold, and I go, if you're not willing to make a commitment for 3 to 5 years of pain, and whether that pain again is time, money, physical pain, the lack of sleep, whatever it is, your weekends, your nights, and all that stuff. If you're not willing to make that, I don't recommend. It's a tough road when you're not willing to sacrifice a lot. But there are payoffs, and again, I think once you're into it and you're on the right footing, just balancing life with work and family and friends, and that's ultimately what's important.
Nice. And what about your advice for Erie? For visiting Erie?
I'll tell you what, if you're visiting, oh boy, I swear, for our friends and buddies out there that are not from Erie, I swear by it. I will say 5 months of the year, it's probably the best place on the planet. I'll say May 1st, October 1st, I wouldn't move anywhere. I highly recommend visiting during that time. From the great resources we have, the lake, the beaches, the bay. It's just beautiful weather. It's incredibly cheap and affordable to come in, whether you live or visiting, and so much to do during those months. So I recommend picking that time frame, and then whether it's taking advantage of the waterfront or the shopping, the history, the Lake Erie Ale Trail. If you're 21, and even if you're not 21, half of our regulars, have families with kids. So we have kids here all the time, but there are so many breweries, wineries, I think 15 of each, distilleries, fun stuff to do. The shopping's incredible. And just the natural resources and cool stuff we have got going on here, whether it's Waldemere Park or Splash Lagoon or Erie Sports Park. I can't imagine a better place to live. And even in the wintertime, we find fun stuff to do, whether it's throwing a bocce ball on the boarding docks of Union Station in February, or curling, or, we're blessed with winter stuff too. But I'll tell you what, this town is hard to beat. Hard to beat from May to October.
Love it. Love it. Well, buddy, thank you so much for being a buddy on Buddycast. You're welcome back anytime. Hope you know that. Anything you want to promote?
Buddy, I appreciate it. I look forward to next time.
Yes. And buddy, before we end this episode, stick around a minute. We'll chat afterwards. But before we end this episode, I have one favor to ask you. Whatever you do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, please go be someone's buddy.
Taken care of. I'm on it, buddy.
Solid. For all my buddies out there, this is my buddy Chris. Please check out BrewErie at Union Station. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. Catch me tomorrow on the Joe Natale Show at 4 p.m. And catch Buddycast whenever you can, because it's everybody's favorite show. We'll catch you all next time here on Buddycast.
Well, the days are going fast, buddy, we've got to make them last, buddy, before they've all gone past, buddy, tune in to Buddycast. Don't feel like go make